Hello YouTube, Dave here again. A while back I had some people ask to see just I guess the collection that I have of some of the Pathfinder and Starfinder flip mats that have been out there. I've done several videos of them in the past, and I've always stated these are some of my favorite accessories to get. I just absolutely love picking up those maps, and they're great because they're fodder for coming up with like dungeon ideas or adventure encounter ideas. They're just, like I said, some of my favorite things, and Paizo does a really amazing job putting out some really good quality products. They're usable with dry erase, wet erase markers and everything. You can use permanent markers. You just rub dry erase over top and then wipe it off a few seconds later. So I've talked about these a lot, and I've accumulated a pretty decent collection for someone who just started buying them within the last couple of years. So yeah, so I've had people ask to see all the ones that I have in my collection, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's just get right into it here. One of the first ones that I bought, I'm going to go through my Pathfinder ones first because I don't have as many of those, and then I'll go into my Starfinder one, which is actually a pretty thick assortment here. So one of the first Pathfinder maps that I ever ended up purchasing was actually the Pathfinder Flip Mat Classic Ancient Dungeon. So this was something that I didn't even know that they were re-releasing some of these original Pathfinder flip mats, but I'm really glad that they did. And this was just a really fun dungeon. I actually used this for an adventure that I ran, and I just really loved this map, and I thought it was really cool with the pools, the different color pools there. So just some statuary, different levels to go through. It was a lot of fun to just look at this map and design an entire adventure around it. So this is one that got a pretty decent amount of use, and yeah, I just absolutely love it, and it's great. Like I always keep an eye out for a lot of these flip mat classics when they come out. Up next is another flip mat classic. This is the Hamlet map. This one's actually still sealed. I actually have a fair amount of these that are still sealed in the original plastic. Eventually I'll get around to opening them up and using them, but in the meantime they were just maps that I thought would be a lot of fun to look at, a lot of fun to try to come up with some adventure ideas around. And so when I saw this one come out, this was like perfect, because I'm always looking for like town or village like streets or just maps that you can use in towns and villages, because I like to design at least a few encounters that take place in those environments. So this one here, on the one side you have these, just the outsides of buildings and the streets, little farm there, and it's just great. Like, it's just a great little, like, just a little tiny hamlet. And then you have this other map which has like a bunch of cellars for beneath certain types of buildings or what have you. So just really cool stuff there. And yeah, just like I said, I love these. Up next is one of the most recent additions to my collection. This is the City Market Flip Mat Classic, and I picked this up for pretty much the same reason that I got the Hamlet one. I'm always looking for stuff like city markets, or town squares, things like that, alleyways. I just really like these types of maps. This one's also sealed. I just recently picked it up and haven't opened it up yet. But what's cool is that it has one map is a series of buildings. So it looks like kind of like warehouses or offices, like a store, like a shop. And then you have these stalls set up, which is going to be, fun to design, like some sort of encounter that takes place in here. And then the other side they give you is actually completely, it's blank, but it's still designed to look like a cobblestone street, so that you can fill in whatever details you want to do yourself. Or if you have some of the flip mat tiles that Paizo puts out, you could use those to fill things out. So it's really nice to have that sort of versatility. And yeah, I actually love the idea of including the blank one there as well. So really awesome stuff there. Then up next I have the Pathfinder Flip Mat multi-pack. So this is Ambush Sites. This one is actually opened, but I did try to keep the plastic on it just to make it a little easier to maintain, I guess, on the shelf. So basically this paper sleeve just never comes out, and I just pull out the individual map that I need at the time. But these maps are awesome as well because, again, you can come up with some really great encounter ideas around these sites, and the whole point of them is to be used for like an ambush scenario. So there's 2 maps in here, and each one is double-sided. So really great stuff there. I guess I should mention the retail prices here. So the individual maps are usually around $13.99. Now there might be some slightly larger maps later on in the video that will go for a little bit more, but generally speaking, the single maps are like $13.99 is the price that these ones are going for. 13 to 14, 15.99, and then this one was 24.99. Those are U.S. prices. The Canadian prices are a little bit higher, but they're still worth it because, like I said, I just absolutely love these things. One of the first map packs that I ever bought, actually, for this for the Pathfinder game, was actually the Pathfinder Playtest Flip Mat multi-pack. So this included 4 maps, well, 2 double-sided maps, for some of the scenarios or locations in the Doomsday Dawn Pathfinder 2e playtest adventure booklet. And it's just, again, there's just some really cool maps here. I've used this one to run the actual adventure from the Doomsday Dawn book a couple of times, and I've also used it just as a completely different dungeon that I used for a different RPG altogether, but it's just a really great map there. You have sort of this like ruined temple area, which is great, and it's just, again, really cool stuff here. Also $24.99 US for the price for that. And then I also have the Fall of Plaguestone flip mat for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So the Fall of Plaguestone was a standalone module, I guess you could say, for Pathfinder 2e when it came out. So on release day, they had both the first installment of the Age of Ashes story, the Hell Knight Hill, with as part of that adventure path, 6-part adventure path, or they had the Fall of Plaguestone, which was a standalone adventure that you could use as sort of an introduction to the Pathfinder 2nd Edition system. And with the Fall of Plaguestone, because it was just a single individual module, they actually released this flip mat to go along with it. So the Fall of Plaguestone adventure itself is really cool, but it's also awesome to have this flip mat, which has a couple of different key locations for some of the areas that you explore in that adventure. So that's some awesome stuff there. So those are all of my Pathfinder flip mats, but I actually started collecting flip mats with Starfinder, and I've got quite a few of them here. I am missing a couple. I think I'm missing the original Starships map, and I think there might have been one other one that I don't have. I'm missing at least one of them, but we're just going to go through them here. They're sort of roughly in chronological order, but not really, so don't hold me to that. But here we go. So the first one is the Starfinder flip mat basic terrain. So this is just your generic blank flip mat for use with the Starfinder RPG. So one side is this like rusty metal floor, which I think is great, and then you have just sort of this rocky like surface type for if it's on like a planetary setting. So really cool stuff there. So this one was $14.99, but again, just really cool, really cool map, and I used this a ton when I was running Starfinder. Okay, so we got that one. To go along with the basic battlefield, we also have the basic starfield. So this is for ship combat, and this is one of the larger size maps. So as you can see, it actually has like an extra little portion to it there. And this one was $19.99. So one side is pretty blank and kind of featureless, but then the other side is sort of this more colorful, like nebulas and stuff like that you can sort of see in the background. And it's great. It's a hex map because the ship combat uses hexes instead of squares. And it's just really nice maps. I always like to use the more colorful side personally, but both of them are really decent. Alright, and then up next, this was actually the first flip mat I ever purchased. from Paizo for any of their products. This was the Starfinder flip mat Cantina. So this has a couple of different types of bars you can use for, obviously encounters or things like that. I like to sort of come up with encounter ideas that you can use in here. So one of the sides is sort of this upper class, kind of swanky type of bar, and then you have on the other side is like this dive bar that you would find in some of the lower reaches of Absalon Station, but just again really cool stuff. And this is actually the one that got me started buying these all together, so this is a very important flip mat for me for that reason. But overall, again, just really cool to have sort of your tavern type maps to use for encounters and such. Alright, up next I have the Jungle World flip mat. So this one just has a couple of, it's like you've got these paths and then just some interesting features along the way. So you got like these large trees, a stream, sort of a little tiny natural bridge there. And then you sort of have some stone ruins and stuff on the other side. Just again, really beautiful maps. And I've used this one actually when I was running the second chapter of the Dead Suns Adventure Path, which I was running for Starfinder, and it takes place in sort of this jungle setting for part of it, so I actually got to use it for that, and it was really cool to have that. So another really nice map. Then we have Urban Sprawl. So this is just sort of it's sort of almost like a little, I don't want to say, like, it's not like markets, but it's just locations that you could come to through like urban settings. So you have this sort of, again, this like idyllic, almost like garden type map here for the upper society, which is sort of what some of the themes are for these ones that aren't specific to an actual world. So you have like the stream with the lily pads, and then you have the like just the places for the rich nobles to kind of sit and discuss matters of intrigue and whatnot. So that's really cool. And then you have sort of, again, the lower society equivalent, which is just sort of this dusty, dirty, like just little, like not even apartments, but just like like dives where you can crash, stuff like that. So again, just really, I know I say this with all of them, but I just really love these. And you have sort of like the vehicles parked out front. So it's just, I don't know, again, I just like looking at these and seeing ideas for adventures or scenarios. And not even if I don't use the maps for actual encounters, sometimes it's just nice to see the visual design of them and be able to use that to help with your flavor text when you're designing something. So if the players are used to living in upper society, but then the scenario takes them into this this dirty, dusty, unkept part of the world, it's just, I don't know, it's just an interesting dichotomy, and I really like it. So I don't know, these maps, like I said, they're just awesome. And then up next we have the Sunrise Maiden map. So the Sunrise Maiden is the ship that the players can get at the end of the first Dead Suns Adventure Path installment. So the very first installment of the very first Adventure Path for Starfinder, the characters have the ability to claim this ship for their own. So one side has the inside of the ship with the bridge, the crew quarters, engineering, recreation facilities, and then the other map has the ship sort of docked. So if you have an encounter where the characters come out of the ship after arriving at a space station or docking on a planet, and then the fight breaks out right there, you've got the map to go with it. This is also another one of those slightly larger maps that has an extra little bit to it, as you can see there. So this was another one of the more expensive ones, but it is a really nice map, and this was super useful if you're running the Dead Suns Adventure Path, because this is the ship that you get, that the players have access to. Alright, up next we have the Space Station map. This one it's still in the plastic, but it is opened. I just, again, with some of these I try to keep the plastic so that it's just easier to store them on the shelf, or I don't have to worry about things getting bent or folded when I slide them in or out. Sometimes it's like if I try to open it and it just rips down like 3/4 of the way down the packaging, then I just toss the whole thing. But if I can try to keep these keep the plastic on them, then I will. But yeah, so the space station one. Again, you have sort of an upper society, lower society one. You have sort of like these barracks, or like a little, I don't want to say hotel section, but you just have places for the characters to crash. You have little spaces for them to interact with. So again, just cool stuff there. Then we have the Asteroid Map. So this is the next one that I have. And I don't think I've actually been able to use this one yet. But what's really cool about it, so one side is just the surface of an asteroid for the characters to sort of walk around and explore, and then the other side is actually like a facility or like a research station or whatever you want to whatever you want it to be, sort of thing, is like what's inside the asteroid itself. So you have this one with you got like a recreation facility. You have what looks like, because it's got like the red laser doors there, probably like a brig or something like that, barracks, just different areas there. So again, this was something that I'm trying to come up with a scenario that actually uses this. At the time that I'm recording this, the pandemic restrictions here in Nova Scotia are starting to lift, and Free RPG Day has been pushed back to sort of near the end of July, I think. So I want to have a couple of scenarios ready to go in the event that restrictions open up enough that you can have gatherings large enough that I'd be able to run a game inside of the store that's hosting the event. So yeah, so this is one of the ones that I'm kind of looking at to come up with something just for a few encounters, something that could be run within an hour and a half, or something like that, 2 hours tops. Okay, up next I've got the Ghost Ship map. And this one I got a lot of use out of, and it was kind of funny actually, because I had this map and I took my Starfinder stuff with me. I can't remember what we were supposed to be doing that day. I can't remember. I don't think it was D&D, but I think we were trying to get together for something, and I was like, well, I've got the Starfinder books with me. So we just sort of had this like impromptu pickup game. I did have some stuff prepared for it, so like I had some minis and things like that. But it was just a scenario that I came up with like 20 minutes before I set out the door to go to the game store to run it. So I used this one here, this map here, this like derelict ship, which has like some damage that you can see there. And so I had it like it was this research ship that was conducting like experiments, injecting different creatures with different types of like mutagens or pathogens, and exploring like the results and things like that. So that was a lot of fun to do, and I haven't used this one yet. So this ship is actually sort of fully intact. I haven't used it yet, but it's still a really nice design as well. But this one here, I ended up using. Sort of gave it a bit of a Weyland-Yutani type of vibe to it. And it was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed running that scenario. Alright, the next map here is the hospital map. So, similar to some of the other ones here, you've got two different styles of like hospital available. So you have like, again, this sort of high society, very expensive, where only the top tier, top percentage individuals in terms of wealth can afford to go to this one. And then you have sort of this, again, sort of seedier type of hospital with this like operating theater, but you see like blood stains and stuff on it, so it's maybe not the most well kept, but again, just cool stuff there. And then I think all the rest of these that I have are actually, I think they're all going to be sealed at this point. But up next I've got the warship, the warship flip mat. So this just has different sections of this massive, like this one massive ship, it looks like. So you don't even get the whole thing on here, but you could probably get some other maps to put it all together. But yeah, I mean, this is just like for boarding, or if you're crew members of this like massive battle station or battleship, it would be really, really cool. You see like one of the maps has sort of image of the outside of the ship with like the turrets and stuff. So it's really, I don't know, it's really cool stuff there. One of the things that the Dead Zones Adventure Path had was this like super colossal warship. So it was a ship so large that it's outside the scale of regular ship battle. I guess like the best way that I could sort of try to compare them size-wise would be like shuttlecraft attacking a Borg cube from Star Trek. Like that's just sort of the difference in scale. And well, it was just something that I don't think any of the other adventure paths. I have the first like 4 adventure paths, and I don't think any of them have like super colossal ships again. I know that there is supposed to be a Starship book coming out, so I'm hoping that they have something like that, because the ships, I love the ships in Starfinder, but they do feel kind of small compared to what you expect when you think of some of like the classic ships from, you know, science fiction or science fantasy, whatever you want to label it as. So yeah, so like this warship map is sort of it just sort of reminds me of like this mega colossal warships, and the, you know, trying to incorporate those in the campaign. So with those ones, you don't fight them. You basically, the characters have to infiltrate and try to take it over from the inside. So a map like this would come in handy for that. So something I would love to see explored further in Starfinder. So up next, I've got the spaceport flip mat. So this is one where one side of the flip mat is like a docking bay for your ships to go into, and then you have what's referred to as a public spaceport concourse on the other side. So this could be a location where, you know, when you first get out of the docking bay, there might be like information terminals, things like that, offices. So yeah, just really, really cool to have those. Then I've got the Starliner map. So this is actually really, really cool. So in real life, I'm a huge fan of ocean liners, and I like sort of researching and studying these. So I love the idea of, you know, starliners, which are essentially like ocean liners, but for space. But actually, the Skittershot adventure, one of the ones for Free RPG Day, actually used like it was this converted ship that was converted into a starliner. Like a luxury cruise type of thing. So yeah, it's really, really cool to have that. So you got this one side that has almost like a dance for a ballroom sort of thing. You got like the piano, you have the stage where you might have some singers, and then you've got the area here for the characters sort of mingled in, and then you have like just the quarters, so where the characters might have where their cabins might be, sort of thing. So really, really cool stuff there. Up next is the Undercity map. So this is all the seedier parts of any Undercity. I kind of feel like these are made sort of for Absalon Station, but for example, you have this one map sort of like an industrial area, and you got these catwalks that sort of go over top. Looks like, you know, got like conveyors with machinery, which is really, really cool. And then you have this almost like a power station sort of thing going on here. So yeah, again, just fun maps to look at and to come up with some ideas with. And then up next is the Dead World flip mat. So this works really well with the name of the planet escapes me right now, and I don't have any of my Starfinder books handy, which is really kind of annoying. But one of the planets in the Pact World system is effectively like this dead world that is ruled by like these undead creatures, and this might make for a great flip mat to use if you're running any sort of venture or encounters on that world. Eox is the name of the planet. So yeah, again, just really, really cool stuff there. Love these maps, and like this one almost looks like sort of a ruined city sort of thing, and this one just looks more like you know, a wilderness type of area that's just devoid of life. Now you have like this toxic gas kind of venting out, like acidic pools, fossils. Just again, I love the design that goes into all of these. And then finally, the latest addition to the flip mat collection is the Starfinder Society Starships map, which comes with just 2 different starships, one on each side of the map. So if you're in a situation where you're like if you own a ship and it gets boarded, or you're boarding a ship, then these are great maps to have for that. Gives you a little variety. Like I said, I think the only map I can honestly think of that I'm missing for Starfinder. Actually, I think there might be two. There was a starship one, like a basic generic starship one, and then I think there was a like a hospital ship one, if I recall correctly. So those are ones that I need to track down. But I think that's basically, like, I think aside from those ones, I have the entire Starfinder collection. Now, I'm not going to try to, like, go back and recollect all of the Pathfinder ones, because there's just a ton of stuff there. But like I said, these are just some of my favorite accessories all together to have. I love the design work that goes into them, the effort, the detail, and I love just being able to look at these and come up with ideas and just get inspiration for scenarios or adventures or encounters that I want to run. So these are the Pathfinder, the Paizo flip mats that I have in my collection. I should also mention that there were maps included in the beginner boxes for both Pathfinder First Edition and the Starfinder beginner box. I didn't show those in this video because they're not individually available for sale. But I did do unboxings of both of those products in the past. So if you wanted to see what those maps look like, by all means. And if some of these maps, like I said, I've actually done full videos on, where I've taken the maps completely out and panned over all of them. So yeah, and there's a bunch more that I will need to do, hopefully at some point, because like I said, I got quite a few of these that are still sealed. I just haven't gotten around to doing videos on them. But anyway, like I said, those are my collection of the Paizo flip mats. So let me know in the comments below, what are some of your favorite Paizo flip mats that you may have gotten for Pathfinder, for Starfinder, or maybe even going back as far as just their Game Mastery product line, which actually took place back before Pathfinder was even a thing. So anyway, although I don't know if they actually did maps for that or not, but regardless. So let me know what some of your favorites are in the comments below, or let me know if you've used any of these maps as inspiration for an encounter or adventure. Let me know some of the details of that as well, because I'd love to hear how some of these things have inspired you guys, because I know I've gotten inspired to do things like write adventures or scenarios using some of these maps myself. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care.